Okay, I am Jed Rappaport. I am project manager for the NB Center for American Automotive Heritage, located in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And we have two cars here at the show today. We have a 1934 Buick. This is a Series 40. It was the small car from Buick at the time. This particular car is all original. It's never been restored, never been changed or worked on. It was sold new at the 1934 Chicago World's Fair, and the way you see it today is exactly the way it spent its entire life. We've never done anything to it to change the way it looks. Now, next to it, we have a completely different end of the spectrum. This is a 1933 Marmon V16 Victoria. It is V16, so that was the biggest engine they made at the time. This particular car is one of two known survivors. Marmon only made 56 cars in 1933 because they were on the verge of bankruptcy at that point. So this particular car has had some interesting history and ownership. It was at one time owned by Bernie Ecclestone, the former controlling individual of Formula One worldwide. The car was restored in California. This is actually not restored by our own shops. We bought this car previously restored. But this was a great example of the cylinder race that was going on in the early 30s between Marmon, Packard, and Cadillac. And of course, Marmon lost. Good. So now we have a 1951 Allard K2. This is one of 119 K2 model Allards made between 1950 and 1953. This particular car is powered by a 331 Cadillac V8. It is the original motor. This particular car was sold new in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and has never been out of Allentown. It's only ever been owned by people in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Even though the car was restored in the 1990s after it was rescued from a barn, it actually only has 7,600 miles from brand new. Would you like me to open the hood? You're going to have to hold that. So what you're looking at is a 1951 Cadillac 331 V8. This is the way this car was originally equipped. This car is, of course, British. They were assembled in Great Britain, but they did not install the engines. They shipped them to the U.S., and the engines were installed here. This engine was in such good shape when the car came out of the barn. All they did was clean it and put new gaskets in it and put it all back together. I mean, Allard was known for their race cars in the 1950s, and they mostly what were raced were called the Model J and J2. This was more of their You have to think about Allards in terms of dual purpose. So an Allard J-type was a race car that you could drive on the street, but the Allard K-type, this car, was a sports car that you could also race. Yeah, so this car was restored. It came out of the barn. It was in bad condition because it was stored badly. But it was a solid, complete, all there, correct car. So very careful pains were taken to keep that originality, that all the little original details intact, even though it had to be restored. But the restoration on this car was mostly about paint and doing the leather, and because those things were so badly deteriorated and it wasn't usable in the condition it was in.
Can you just give us permission to, as we put it on YouTube?
Sure.
Just for the club.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm giving you permission to use your video on your social media for your car club. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Anything else that you
I can tell you a story about this one.
Oh, really? Okay, great.
So we're back to looking at the 1933 Marmon V16. And so we sent this car to a car show in Las Vegas a number of years ago. And we had a screw up with the trucking company for shipping the car back. And we had to drive the car from a country club about 20 miles outside of Vegas back into Vegas one night so we could park it at the hotel and wait for the trucking company to pick the car up the next day. So I was the lucky person who got to drive the car on the highway. This is Las Vegas on a Saturday evening. I got to drive it on the highway and get off and drive it right down the Vegas Strip, pull it up to the valet at the Bellagio Hotel, and which they didn't even bat an eye at this when I pulled up in it, but they were very nice and let me drive the car into the garage and park it. So yeah, that is something we are particular about at the NB Center, is we drive our cars. We have 192 cars in our collection in Allentown, and every car is ready to go at any time.